Hey, Tom, Lisa whispered, nudging my arm under the covers. I grunted, half asleep, scrolling absently through my phone. Hmm? She hesitated, long enough that I finally looked at her. Her eyes were shining, but not in a way I liked. I got invited to something. Mark and Jenna's place this weekend. I blinked. Another barbecue? She shook her head, biting her lip. Not exactly. I set my phone down. Okay. What kind of party then? She exhaled, almost like she was trying to laugh it off. A swingers party. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. She didn't laugh, didn't smile. You're serious, I said, my voice flat. She nodded too eagerly. They said it's fun, it spices things up, couples do it all the time. I sat up against the headboard, heart thudding. Lisa, are you even hearing yourself? Swingers? It's not a big deal, she said quickly. It's just something different, something exciting. We've been in a rut, Tom. I rubbed my face, trying to wake myself up from this nightmare. A rut? So your solution is, what? Sleeping with other people? Her arms folded tightly across her chest. It's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. I shook my head. It means everything. It means breaking every promise we ever made. You're being dramatic, she muttered, looking away. I grabbed her hand, desperate to make her understand. Lisa, we have kids, a family. What you're talking about would destroy us. She pulled her hand back, face tight. You're overreacting. Mark and Jenna said it brought them closer. I don't care about Mark and Jenna. My voice cracked from the effort of holding back the anger rising in my throat. I care about you, about us. She didn't answer, just stared at the wall. Jaw clenched. Silence ballooned between us, thick and heavy. Finally, I said, quieter, I'm not doing it, and if you go, I don't know if we can come back from that. Her eyes flicked toward me, unreadable. You're such a prude, she said under her breath. I felt something in me snap, something fragile and precious. I'm serious, Lisa. Don't go. She pulled the covers up to her chin, turning away from me. Good night, Tom. I stared at the ceiling. Long after she fell asleep, listening to the quiet hum of betrayal creeping into the space between us. Something had cracked wide open that night. I just hadn't realized how far it would break. Did you think about it? Lisa asked, her voice light, too casual, as she poured coffee the next morning. I didn't look up from my plate. I already gave you my answer. She sighed loudly, setting the mug down harder than necessary. You're being impossible, Tom. I'm being loyal, I muttered. She didn't reply, just grabbed her phone off the counter like it might save her from the conversation. Later that day, I caught her texting in the hallway, smiling at her screen. When she noticed me watching, she flipped the phone face down on the table. Who's that? I asked, pretending not to care. Jenna, she said too quickly. Just about Saturday. I nodded, forcing myself to believe her, even as something heavy settled in my chest. At dinner, she barely touched her food. Long day? I asked, trying to bridge the gap stretching between us. She said, pushing peas around her plate. I waited for her to elaborate. She didn't. Instead, after clearing her plate, she disappeared into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. That night in bed, she lay facing away from me. I reached out, fingers brushing her shoulder. She flinched. You okay? I whispered. I'm tired, Tom, she said, voice clipped. I pulled my hand back like I'd been burned. 2 days later, she cornered me while I was folding laundry. You're being unfair, she said, arms crossed tight over her chest. I tossed a towel into the basket. Unfair? Yeah. You're not even trying to understand. I straightened up, heart pounding. Understand what, Lisa? That you want to sleep with strangers and call it saving our marriage? She bit her lip, looking almost guilty, then shook her head. It's not like that. You're twisting it. I'm not twisting anything, I said, voice low. You're the one twisting us. Her eyes filled with something, anger, regret, I couldn't tell. She stormed out without another word. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening, to her giggle softly over something on her phone. When I rolled over, She tucked it under her pillow like a teenager hiding secrets. I lay there in the dark, gut twisting, heart pounding, asking myself the question I never thought I'd have to ask. Who was this woman lying next to me? And where had my Lisa gone? Owing, Lisa said, arms crossed, chin lifted like she was daring me to stop her. I stared at her, disbelief choking me. You're serious? With or without you, she added, voice calm, almost bored. You know what this means, right? I said, my hands shaking. She shrugged. If you want to blow up our marriage over one night, that's on you. My throat closed up. Lisa, if you walk out that door tonight, you're walking away from everything we built. Don't be so dramatic, she said, rolling her eyes. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. I'll file for divorce. Her lips twisted into a smirk. You'd really throw away 8 years over one party? You already did, I said, barely recognizing the sound of my own voice. She didn't argue. Instead, she turned on her heel and headed upstairs. I stood there, frozen, listening to the sounds of drawers opening, hangers scraping, the light thud of heels hitting the floor. When she came down, I barely recognized her. Tight black dress, red lipstick she hadn't worn in years, heels she used to say hurt too much. The smell of musky perfume hit me like a slap, one she used to save for our anniversaries. Wow, I muttered, unable to hide the bitterness. Dressed to impress, huh? She grabbed her clutch without looking at me. I'll be back late. I stepped into her path. You don't have to do this, she sighed, exasperated. Get out of the way. Tom, I didn't move. Think about Emma, about Ben, about what they'll see when this all falls apart. I am thinking about them, she snapped. They deserve happy parents, not miserable ones trapped in a boring marriage. Boring, I repeated, the word cutting deeper than I expected. She brushed past me, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. At the door, she paused, hand on the knob. You could still come, she said without turning around. Maybe you'd even enjoy it if you got over yourself. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Yeah, watching you with someone else. Sounds like a dream come true. Her fingers tightened on the doorknob. For a second, I thought she might change her mind. But she just opened the door, cold night air rushing in. Good night, Tom, she said, stepping into the darkness. The door clicked shut behind her. I stood there, staring at it, feeling the weight of the empty house press down on me. She was gone, and so was everything I thought we had. The door creaked, opened just after 10. I didn't move from the couch. Lisa stumbled in, heels dangling from her fingers, hair a mess. Fun night? I asked, my voice low, dead. She smirked, tossing her shoes onto the floor. You wouldn't believe how much fun. I clenched my jaw. Yeah? Show me. She dug into her purse and pulled out her phone like a magician revealing a trick. Here, she said, tossing it onto the coffee table. See for yourself, it's not a big deal. I stared at the phone like it might explode. You actually recorded it? She shrugged, peeling off her jacket. Like I promised. No lies here, Tom. Something inside me snapped clean in two. I picked up the phone carefully, like it was a loaded gun. You're proud of this? She yawned. I'm proud I'm not boring like you. I stood, gripping the phone tighter. You don't even realize what you just handed me. Evidence, she laughed. Of what? Having fun? Grow up. I turned away before I said something I couldn't take back. Upstairs, I closed the bedroom door and sat at my desk, heart hammering. I plugged the phone into my laptop, hands shaking slightly. Files popped up instantly. Videos, dozens. Didn't watch them. I didn't need to. I copied them all to a secure drive, forcing my face blank. She wanted to destroy us? Fine. I'd make sure she destroyed herself first. My reflection stared back at me in the dark screen. Someone I barely recognized? I whispered to no one. You'll regret this, Lisa. I swear you will. I'm taking the kids to Mom's for the weekend, I said, stuffing clothes into a duffel bag. Lisa leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Little dramatic, don't you think? I didn't even look at her. They don't need to see this. This? She repeated, like she didn't have a clue. This wreck you caused, I snapped, zipping the bag shut. She laughed under her breath. God, you're exhausting. I slung the bag over my shoulder. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. That got her attention. Her smug smile faltered. You're not serious, she said, straightening up. Dead serious, I said, brushing past her. At Mom's house, I watched Emma and Ben settle in, their laughter breaking my heart. I'll be back soon, I promised, kissing their heads. Mom squeezed my arm on the way out. You're doing the right thing. I nodded, even though every step away from them felt like dragging a knife through my chest. Back home, Lisa lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. Miss me already? She said without looking up. I dropped a thick envelope onto the coffee table. What's this? She asked, frowning. Divorce papers, I said, voice flat. Her head snapped up. You're kidding. Nope. All legally sound. Thanks. To your little recording project. Color drained from her face. You're overreacting, she said quickly. We can fix this. You broke it beyond repair, I said, arms crossed, daring her to argue. You'd really destroy our family over one mistake? She asked, voice rising. You destroyed it, I said, each word hitting like a hammer. I'm just cleaning up the mess. She stood there, stunned, like the floor had been ripped out from under her. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. Then she laughed, bitter and shaky. You'll regret this, she hissed. I grabbed my keys. Already regretted staying this long. I left her there, standing in the ruins she'd built with her own 2 hands. Outside, I sat in my car, gripping the wheel until my knuckles went white. Didn't cry, didn't scream, I just breathed. Finally, for the first time in months, Tom, please open the door. Lisa's voice cracked through the wood, followed by another desperate knock. I stayed on the couch, arms crossed, heart hammering against my ribs. Tom, just talk to me. I stared at the muted TV screen, refusing to move. After a long minute, I heard her slide down, sitting against the door. I made a mistake, she whimpered. It didn't mean anything. I shut my eyes, forcing the words not to break me. If it didn't mean anything, I muttered to myself, you wouldn't have fought so hard to do it. My phone buzzed violently beside. Lisa, 10 missed calls. Lisa, 12 new messages. I picked it up, thumb hovering over the screen. Tom, please. I'll do anything. Don't do this to us. Think about the kids. I threw the phone onto the coffee table, disgusted at how easily she twisted the blade, dragging the kids into it. That was low, even for her. Hours later, I cracked the door open to grab the mail. Lisa was still there, curled up on the porch, makeup smeared, clutching her phone like a lifeline. When she saw me, she scrambled to her feet. Tom, she cried. Please, just 5 minutes, just hear me out. I stared at her, the ghost of the woman I once loved. 5 minutes, I said stiffly, stepping aside. Inside, she hovered awkwardly by the counter. I know I hurt you, she started, wringing her hands. But it was one night, one stupid night. I leaned against the wall, arms folded. You had a choice, Lisa. Every second you stayed, every second you touched someone else, you chose it. Tears streamed down her face. I thought it would fix us. By breaking us, I asked, voice rising. I didn't think. No, I cut her off. You didn't care. She staggered back like I'd slapped her. I love you, she choked out. I love our family. I laughed bitterly. You don't even love yourself. Her face crumpled. I'll go to therapy, she begged. We can go together, please, Tom. You should have thought about therapy before you slept with half the party, I snapped. She sobbed, real gut-wrenching cries that once would have broken me. Now they only hardened me. Leave, I said quietly. She shook her head frantically. No, I can't. I won't. Leave, I repeated, voice shaking. Or I'll call the cops. She hesitated another second, then grabbed her purse and fled, slamming the door behind her. I slid down to the floor, pressing my forehead against my knees, feeling every piece of my broken heart grinding together. But I stayed strong. For me. For the kids. For the man I refused to let her destroy. I wasn't planning on seeing Mark, just needed groceries, milk, bread, distraction. But there he was, standing by the frozen section, shifting awkwardly when he spotted me. "Tom," he said, voice tight. I gave him a stiff nod. "Mark," he rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, man." I didn't know if I should say anything. I narrowed my eyes. "About what?" He swallowed hard. "About Lisa. That night." My stomach dropped. "What about it?" He glanced around like he was afraid of being overheard. "It wasn't just one guy." He muttered. My throat closed up. "What?" He sighed. "It was 3. The world tilted. 3, I repeated, the word tasting like ash. He nodded, wincing. "I'm sorry. I thought you should know." I stared at him, the blood roaring in my ears. "Thanks," I said hoarsely, turning on my heel. I made it to my car before the nausea hit. Doubling over, I dry heaved into the parking lot, gripping the door handle like it was the only thing keeping me upright. 3. Not one mistake. Not one drunken lapse in judgment. 3 choices, 3 betrayals, 3 nails in the coffin of our marriage. I slammed my hand against the steering wheel. The pain sharp and oddly satisfying. She hadn't just disrespected me. She had annihilated me. The drive home blurred into nothing. Inside, I paced the living room, heart racing, mind spiraling. How could she? How could she look me in the eye and pretend it was a one-time slip? How could she hold our children and smile like she hadn't destroyed everything they knew? My phone buzzed on the counter. "Lisa. Can we talk? I miss you." A bitter laugh ripped from my throat. Talk? Miss me? Was she missing me between hookups? Or after? I typed back 2 words. "We're done." Then I turned off the phone and threw it across the room, watching it shatter into pieces, just like she shattered me. I sank onto the couch, cradling my head in my hands. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was humiliation. It was grief. It was the brutal realization that I had loved someone who never really loved me back. And somehow, even after everything, part of me still mourned her. Mourned the life I thought we had. But that part was dying fast, and in its place something colder was taking root. "All rise," the bailiff called out. I stood, heart pounding, barely hearing the judge's words as Lisa shuffled in beside her lawyer. She looked hollow, sunken eyes, pale skin, clothes that hung off her like they didn't belong. She didn't look at me. Good. I didn't think I could stomach it. The judge cleared his throat. "Custody will be awarded to the petitioner, Thomas Reed." I gripped the edge of the table, feeling my knees almost buckle. Full custody. Emma. Ben. Safe. And regarding the division of assets. The judge continued. I barely listened. House to me, minimal support to her, everything else split clean. Lisa finally looked up, her mouth opening like she wanted to argue, but her lawyer tugged her sleeve. She stayed silent. When the gavel finally came down, it sounded like the end of a war. "Good luck to you both," the judge said, not unkindly. I grabbed my paperwork and headed for the exit without looking back. "Tom," Lisa's voice cracked behind me. I paused, hand on the courtroom door. "Please," she said, voice trembling. "Can we just talk?" I turned halfway, meeting her broken stare. "There's nothing left to say," I said quietly. Tears spilled down. Her face. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I almost laughed, almost. Instead, I shook my head. "You made every choice. You just didn't like the consequences." Her lip trembled. I forced myself to look away, to push through the door and step into the hallway. Every step felt like dragging chains behind me. But still, I moved forward. Outside, the sun hit my face. I closed my eyes and breathed deep for the cause. First time in months. It wasn't happiness, it wasn't triumph, it was just peace. I made it to my car before the first tear slid down my cheek. Not for her, not anymore. For me. For everything I lost. For everything I had to rebuild. I started the engine, gripping the wheel tightly. "This is it," I whispered to myself. "This is the real goodbye." And for once I wasn't the one begging someone to stay. I pulled out of the parking lot without looking back. You're doing better, my therapist said, scribbling something in her notebook. I shrugged. Some nights are still hell. That's normal, she said gently. Grief isn't linear. I stared at the ceiling. Sometimes I wake up reaching for her, she paused. And what do you do then? I laughed bitterly. I remind myself she's not the woman I thought she was. At home, Emma curled into my lap, giggling as I tickled her sides. Ben chased the dog across the backyard, his laughter loud and real. For the first time in months, the house felt alive again. Diddy, are you sad? Emma asked, resting her head against my chest. I kissed the top of her head. Not when I'm with you, baby girl. At night, the bed still felt too big. Some nights I laid there, staring into the dark, haunted by the smell of betrayal. But most nights I found peace in the quiet. Mom visited often. You look lighter, she said, handing me a cup of coffee. I smiled. Feels like I'm breathing again. She squeezed my shoulder. You're stronger than you know. The papers finalized 2 weeks later. 1 envelope, 1 signature. Freedom. Standing. In the kitchen, I turned the ring over in my palm one last time before dropping it into a drawer. A new life waited. One I would build with scars, sure, but with strength too. Emma burst through the door, holding up a crayon drawing. Look, Daddy, our family. I knelt, smiling at the scribbled faces. Me, Emma, Ben, no one else, no ghosts. You drew us perfect, I said, hugging her tight. She giggled. Because we are. And maybe, just maybe, she was right. You hear about Lisa? Mike asked, sliding into the seat across from me at the diner. I sipped my coffee, keeping my expression neutral. No, what about her? He leaned in, lowering his voice. Word is, her new guy bailed. Took off with someone else. I stirred my coffee slowly. Huh. Not just him, Mike added. Couple others too. She's burning through friends faster than cash. I shrugged. Choices have consequences. He whistled low. You're colder than I expected. I smiled faintly. No, just done. At the grocery store later, I caught whispers near the checkout line. Did you hear Lisa Reed? Total train wreck now. Such a shame, she had it all once. I kept my head down, placing apples on the belt, pretending not to hear. The cashier, a woman maybe my age, gave me a sympathetic smile. Single dad, huh? She said, scanning the milk. Yeah, I said simply. Your kids are lucky, she added, handing me the receipt. I nodded, feeling a strange warmth in my chest. Thanks. Outside, the sky stretched wide and blue. I stood there for a moment, groceries forgotten at my feet. I thought about Lisa, about the life she threw away, about the life I was rebuilding. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her suffering. But I didn't pity her either. She had made her choices. Now she lived with them. I loaded the groceries into the trunk, the breeze cool against my face. For the first time, I didn't feel anger or sadness or longing, just peace. As I buckled into the driver's seat, I whispered a small prayer into the quiet. Thank you for the lesson, I said softly. Now let me build something better. And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed I would.